Coming up on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
The Beef It's What's for Dinner 300 returns to the Daytona Speedway. We'll take you on the track for this important event. Plus, expert advice on how to grow more grass and maximize profitability in your operation.
And now, NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. I'm Kevin Ochsner. For the second year in a row, the Federation of State Beef Councils partnered with the Daytona International Speedway to sponsor NASCAR's season opening race, the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. The Cattlemen to Cattlemen cameras were in Florida, and reporter Brian Baxter has more on this big event.
Family and the entire staff here at Daytona International Speedway, welcome to the World Center of Racing. So grab a burger and enjoy the race. Let's go!
On behalf of America's farmers and ranchers who work hard every day to produce beef for your dinner, it's my privilege to announce, drivers, start your engines.
Beef was back on track at the Daytona International Speedway for the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. For the second year, the Federation of State Beef Councils, on behalf of the Beef Checkoff, partnered with the Daytona International Speedway to sponsor the race one day ahead of the legendary Daytona 500.
Super event. This is a great way for us to reach the people that are consuming our product.
It's tremendously exciting that here we are with our checkoff program. We're back in the national televised network. A lot of reach, a lot of people that see this and hear this and see it on the internet follow up all through the year because they'll be talking about the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300.
In the days before the drivers took to the track, beef was in the spotlight on local TV and radio as celebrity chef Josh Capon shared race day recipes with news media around the country.
Good morning, everybody. Get ready to start your engines. I got some shaved steak lettuce cups. These Asian flavors pair perfectly with the beef. And of course, being the 7-time champion of the Burger Bash, I had to give you guys a couple sliders. So we got a Southwestern slider with a green hatch chili mayo. For these recipes and so many more, head over to beefitswhatsfordinner.com.
Come on, this is beef. It's what's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But we also have this booth, so we're able to interact with the folks that are coming to the races. So we're handing out beef sliders. We're handing out spice packets for seasoning the steaks and burgers. But really, it's more about communicating with folks that are here, talking to them about how beef production works here in the U.S.
When you talk about the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300, all the folks coming here, all the social media that we're going to see, all the live television network we're going to see, it's just a tremendous opportunity to tell our story about how safe, healthful, just good tasting beef really is.
Hundreds of media were on site to cover the races at Daytona, and beef-loving chefs from the Texas Beef Council traveled in to put beef on the menu.
So we'll feed about 350 media members, bring an all-star group of chefs from Texas, part of our beef-loving chefs group, and support the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300.
This is not usual. This is unique to this race. Thank you for the sponsorship. And I'm going to enjoy it. That's why I got here close to the front of the line.
Give me the green flag for beef.
We're excited to feed the Thunderbirds, the flyover team, that'll be doing that on Sunday over the Daytona 500. So yeah, we'll have a special meal for them. Cattle producers are also excited for us to support that group.
And no doubt beef is truly a fan favorite at Daytona.
You see all those RVs out there? Everybody's grilling all day, all night, cooking up burgers, steak tacos. I mean, these people take their racing seriously, but they take their beef seriously.
Every night we've done burgers. Tonight we're doing steaks. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Sitting down here tonight at Daytona, here they come, racing back to the line.
Back on the track, 38 drivers raced in the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300, battling for a cooler full of tomahawk beef steaks and a trip to victory lane.
Race winner of the 40th running of the NASCAR Xfinity Series, Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. Fans, give it up for Austin Hill, race winner of Daytona.
I'd like to present you, first of all, with a hat, so commemorate that. Because Beef It's What's for Dinner. We've also got a belt buckle for you here. And on behalf of the over 800,000 beef ranchers and farmers of America, much congratulations to you.
Thanks a lot.
With all the different elements, the Chekov-funded Beef 300 promotion reached millions of consumers and posted a big win for beef.
We're not done bringing you coverage from the Beef It's What's for Dinner 300. Tune in next week's episode for more behind-the-scenes action, including a look at all the great ways the Federation of State Beef Councils worked to bring together beef producers and race fans in Daytona. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll tell you how e-commerce is impacting all segments of the beef industry.
Meteorologist Matt Makins here. As we've chatted about on previous C2Cs or at the convention or even in your newsletter, we're watching La Nina and the conditions in the ocean very carefully. In this week's Weather Watch, we'll have an update on what La Nina is doing now.
Are you ready for a better shot at profitability with a more consistent, more efficient cow herd? Then don't miss out on the maternal edge offered by Gelbvieh and Balancer Genetics.
Stayability and longevity is really a strength of the Gelbvieh breed, and when these cows can remain in the herd 10 years or thereabouts, they return a lot of dollars to the producers.
Research shows Gelbvieh cows will stay in your herd longer with greater fertility and more pounds of calf weaned.
It's the ability of that cow not only to have that calf unassisted, but to own that calf, to stay right there with that calf, to do whatever's necessary to get that calf going no matter what. No breed we work with does a better job of owning that calf and making sure that she's going to take care of than the Gelbvieh breed.
For cow-calf producers, the maternal traits offered by Gelbvieh and Balancer Genetics are the smart, reliable, and profitable choice. Find out more at the website gelbvieh.org.
Electronic commerce, or e-commerce, is the buying and selling of goods and services over the internet. It's a popular way to do business, especially during the pandemic. Russell Nemitz has a closer look at the impact of e-commerce on the beef industry, both now and in the future.
Well, there's no question that e-commerce has become a very important part of the U.S. food industry. And with us from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is Jason Jerome. And Jason, talk about how important e-commerce really has become.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Russell. And what a great question, because we've seen over the last 2 years, and I can't believe we're still talking about COVID 2 years later, but we've seen that e-commerce has grown tremendously. And it's a need for the beef industry to answer that call. If you look at the top 15 items in fresh of online grocery, produce makes up 12 of those items. So there's a real need for beef to fill some of that gap. And as we look ahead to 2026, estimates show that 20% of the grocery market share is going to be e-commerce driven. That's a huge number, and that's projections 4 or 5 years ahead of what they thought they were.
The numbers are incredible, Jason. Now let's talk a little bit about how the Beef It's What's for Dinner program is helping with this tremendous trend we're seeing these days.
Yeah, we've seen tremendous results. If we just look back at FY21, we see that our ads drove more than $50 million in beef sales. Those are sales that are directly resulting from our ads that we've done on retail websites and also this year on food service websites. We've also seen that we've brought more than 2,000 new customers to the online shopping cart looking for beef products. And so if you look at what we've done this year so far, we started with Sam's Club, and we did a holiday campaign with Sam's Club where we were able to put display ads on Sam's Club online applications where people could click those ads and then drive to the beef cart. We saw that more than 37,000 customers engaged with those ads on Sam's Club. We also partnered with McDonald's, and what better brand than McDonald's to put with the Beef It's What's for Dinner brand and the McDonald's brand. And so we partnered with them. When McDonald's had a free quarter pounder offer that they were going to do with DoorDash. DoorDash is the largest meal delivery company really in the world. And we put display ads to coordinate with that offer on DoorDash. We saw that 22 beef units at McDonald's jumped 22% in just a 5-day program, more than 256 redemptions of that. We also saw, and this is great, chicken sales decreased by 5%, which is an awesome story. McDonald's has told us that this was their highest participation program ever that they've done with DoorDash. So we were super excited, obviously, to see those results. And we think we're going to continue to see these results throughout 2022 and into the future. Beef is going to really take its place when it comes to online grocery and online meal delivery.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you next. I mean, what does the future have in store? As you just mentioned, the tremendous success with not just Sam's, but with our friends at McDonald's.
Yeah, so the future is bright, and we're looking for any national retailer and national food service opportunity that we can do. We also like to share this opportunity with our state beef council partners. And in fact, Sam's Club, we had 14 state beef councils participate in that program, which doubled the checkoff investment and also brought additional reach and sales dollars to those states. So the future is bright for e-commerce and beef, for sure.
Well, and I just want to wrap things up. I mean, this is just another great example of what checkoff dollars are doing and what producers' checkoff investments are, in fact, providing tremendous results.
100%. If you look at our average return on ad spend for last year, it's $42.58. So for every checkoff dollar we spent, we brought in $42 in beef sales.
Tremendous results. Jason, thank you for being with us here on Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Again, for more information about your checkoff program, more specifically, the Beef It's What's for Dinner program, you can visit them online at beefitswhatsfordinner.com.
The beef industry needs people who are willing to talk to consumers and answer their questions about how beef is produced, from pasture to plate. Cattlemen to Cattlemen reporter Brad Bulla has a look at some of the ways NCBA is taking beef advocacy to the next level.
Consumers today often want more information about the beef they buy, including insights on production practices and the care cattle are given. At the recent Cattle Industry Convention, a Ranch How hands-on workshop focused on sharing ways the beef industry and beef producers are working to sharpen their communication skills and tell their story.
The Masters Beef Advocacy Program encompasses 5 modules that are completely online and available at a producer's pace. So learning everything from how product gets from the gate to a consumer's plate is really critical in sharing our stories and just advocating on behalf of the modern day beef community. In order to share one's story, it's really important to connect and find that value, that shared value that one has with those on the other side of the table. So within the MBA modules, you will find what's called the 2C model, and that is to emphasize how much we care and how much we are capable as producers working within the beef communities.
The Beef Checkoff funded MBA program isn't only for farmers and ranchers. Anyone with an interest in helping others learn more about beef and how cattle are raised is encouraged to take the online classes.
So the MBA program has really done a phenomenal job at touching all those communities engaged with the beef production life cycle. So if you are a chef or a retailer or a distributor, this program matters because it allows you to open your eyes and see the different perspectives within the beef community and really say, man, I want to begin sharing my story, but within those spheres of influence that you have control over.
One MBA graduate is Marky Higman, who was selected as the 2021 Advocate of the Year. She shared her success story during the Ranch How educational session at the Cattle Industry Convention.
Part of me feels like, what did I do to deserve that? But I do think that it's amazing because this award, is given to people who are doing really outstanding advocacy in the industry.
Marky is a great example of someone who has that connective nature and that relatability that goes much beyond the beef community. So the way in which she engages on her social profiles and within her communities of influence in California really makes it important as a success story of what other advocates can work to do through their journey and starting as an advocate with the MBA program.
I have a lot of people on my page that say, I am not a rancher, I am not in the beef industry, but I love seeing what you're posting because it's funny, and I think it's really educational. So I'm creating that connection without trying to say, I'm educating you. I'm just like creating a relationship and trying to make people laugh while I do it.
NCBA is taking beef advocacy to the next level with a new Trailblazers program. Each year, 10 to 12 MBA graduates will be selected to receive special training in order to become expert communicators, excel in media interviews, and engage with consumers on social media platforms.
We recently established the Trailblazers program, which is our advanced, elite, and selective advocates that we're bringing in from across the country. So in a couple of weeks, we'll be bringing in our inaugural 10 Trailblazers from 6 different states and really cultivating those stories and those impactful messages that can then really help grow our grassroots community at the state level and then expand onto the national level as well.
The MBA program is going to give you that confidence, and it's going to actually give you useful, actionable, resources and tools. Instead of just saying, here's a bunch of information, do with it, what you will. It kind of tells you like, here's what you should do. And if I didn't have this program, I wouldn't be here today. That's the whole truth. I am so indebted to that program.
The MBA program just recently hit our 20,000th graduate. And it really, to me, means that this program still has a tremendous amount of value to those producers and consumers and extended audiences within the beef communities.
I'm Brad Bulla, reporting for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Now, anyone with a genuine interest in promoting the beef industry is encouraged to enroll in the Masters of Beef Advocacy program. There's no cost to participate, and you complete the program on your own schedule. Just visit the website beefitswhatsfordinner.com/Masters of Beef Advocacy. Still to come, we'll discuss some steps you can take this grazing season to help maximize your forage base. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Take advantage of the very best in Hereford genetics with the Sandhill Farms annual production sale Saturday, March 26th.
We've really tried to put a lot of carcass traits in our cattle. Ultimately, that's going to be a driver in price and profit.
I buy bulls from Sandhills because in the end, there's more money in my pocket selling the end product.
The Schultz family focuses on continuous genetic improvement of their Hereford cattle year after year.
I view everybody that sits in the seats at our sale as our boss. We want our genetics to get better every year. We've got to make the next set of bulls that the customer comes to purchase genetically better than the ones before.
Sandhill Farms, the brand that exceeds your goals. Find out more at the website sandhillfarms.com.
Cattle producers know the value of grazed forages, and improving pasture production means better feed for your cattle and more profit potential for your operation. Matt Fleck takes us to north central Arkansas for a look at an exciting technology that can put more grass in your fields and more money in your pocket.
Growing more grass gives cattle producers their lowest cost opportunity to put more pounds on their cattle. That, however, is often easier said than done.
Producers need to pay attention to the weeds in the pastures because they are crowding out competing good forages. Every bite of grass that cow takes or that stock or calf takes, you want it to be something that's going to be nutritious and is going to lead to putting pounds of beef on that animal's skeleton.
Weed control is a big deal. When it gets hot and dry in the summertime, if that grass is having to compete with a lot of weeds, you're losing all that. That's our number one fight is weeds.
For every pound of weeds you have in your pasture, that's going to remove 1 to 1.5 pounds of grass. And many of these weeds are not palatable to cattle, and some of them are even robbing your yields because they will cause grazing avoidance. They have stickers and they're a pain for cattle, so cattle will tend to avoid them. If you have weeds, you don't have as much forage for your cattle production. Either you're going to have to reduce your carrying capacity, so you'll have to sell off cattle earlier than you wanted to, or you'll have to purchase feed and hay, and forage grown in your pastures is often the lowest cost forage you have. So if you have poor forage, you have to buy more hay. That's more expensive for your bottom line.
Fertilizing Pastures is a tool many producers use to boost forage growth, but fertilizer alone does not address the issues of weed control.
Most of our producers fertilize their hay fields religiously, and then pastures can, are as needed. If they're stocking more cattle, they'll fertilize their pastures, and that just helps them grow more grass and raise more cattle. On pastures, if they put fertilizer on their pastures or hay fields and no weed control, they're growing pounds of weeds also. And so with some weed controls, it makes a big difference on their production.
Most of the producers in my area that are truly trying to realize a net profit are very interested in all the aspects of pasture management, and they're always looking for new ways to do things.
New UltiGraze pasture weed and feed from Corteva AgriScience allows farmers and ranchers to address both pasture fertility and weed control at the same time, and at the right time.
UltiGraze is our new service offering whereby certified UltiGraze pasture weed and feed retailers can deliver both your fertility needs and your weed control in one pass. Historically, what we've needed to do is to go over your pasture with a fertilizer application and then come back with a second separate application to spray for your weeds. This is a process whereby we can combine the two, saving you the cost of a second application and delivering not only fertility, but weed control at the same time.
The advantage of that for our farmers are window of application. Sometimes there's only 2 hours a week that's fit to go out and spray because the wind's blowing, chance of rain's coming, something like that. The benefit on putting it in the fertilizer is the window of application is a lot broader. It gives them more chance to get out and get the product applied in a timely fashion.
You get your fertilizer put on, you get some nutrients added to your soil, and you're getting weed control that they never could get before. And they're getting it early enough to do a good job. They're not waiting till the weeds are mature, and then sometimes we'd have failures with herbicides, and lots of times it was due because they were spraying too late. Now they're getting timely applications of herbicide and getting fertilizer on both at the proper timing, and it's been just a win-win for using both of those technologies.
For Brandon Olson and his customers, seeing pasture health is only one benefit of UltiGraze. Not only does the one-pass application process save time, but since cattle don't have to be moved off pastures before or after treatment, it also saves in labor.
The results we've seen have been very, very good, better than we had assumed, because most of this research has been 85 to 90% control compared to spraying. We're seeing 100% control of spraying just because they're getting out there earlier when the weeds are smaller. All our customers have been very happy with the results that they've received. We believe that the impregnating fertilizer is as accurate as spraying, if not more accurate, just because of the evenness you get, and it doesn't matter if the wind's blowing 10, 12 mile an hour. You can get right up next to the fence and know that that's where it stops. So that's a good benefit.
I had 60 acres that I used it on in the spring. I think we got it on at the last of March, maybe 1st of April, which this year I intend on using it, getting out there a little quicker. We was having a bit of a thistle issue. We was having some ragweed issue, and so we used it. And on that 60 acres this year, I don't think I had 3 thistles on the whole deal. There was no ragweed whatsoever. My grass was, thicker, better, a lot healthier. Once we got the weeds out of the way, the grass kind of come along and blanketed and covered the ground. And I feel like my cattle done better. They stayed healthier, looked better. It just lets you keep your grass in better shape to withstand a drought, the adverse effect of the weather might put on it.
If you talk about a healthy stand of grass being a very good mechanism to suppress weeds, then you ask, okay, what goes into keeping and maintaining a healthy stand of grass? So obviously it all begins with a soil test to know what the fertility needs are. When we talk about establishing a healthy pasture, it's fertility, it's weed control. when we talk about maintaining a healthy pasture, that's when we start getting into rotational grazing, not overgrazing, and making sure that that pasture goes into the fall a healthy, vigorous stand of grass.
UltiGraze pasture weed and feed is exciting technology to help pastures thrive. It is available through a network of certified applicators in 22 states.
As a producer, if you're dealing with a certified UltiGraze weed and feed retailer, what you know is that retailer has gone through extensive education and training so that they know how to do the blending of the herbicide onto the fertilizer. They're using dedicated equipment, and they have the highest standards of product stewardship. So you know you're going to be getting the fertility needs you are desiring, and you're going to be getting the appropriate herbicide for your individual pasture needs. If you happen to have your own application equipment, whether it's a truck or a buggy, and it's dedicated to pasture, then you will be able to go to your UltiGraze retailer, get your blended impregnated fertilizer, and you'll be able to deliver it on and to apply it to your own pastures.
We're here to help our producers, make them be more productive. They have a few more cows, that means they have a little bit more money to spend and more pickups to drive, and it helps the economy all the way around.
Reporting from Harrison, Arkansas, I'm Matt Fleck for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
To learn more about the benefits of impregnated fertilizer or other Corteva products, visit the website rangeandpasture.com. Still to come on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll explain how a beef on dairy crossbreeding program can provide a positive impact to producers in both industries. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Grass is the center of our universe. We've got to have a grass program that we can count on and plan on. That's what we need to sustain us, to keep us growing, to keep us prospering.
Cattle producers across the country work hard to care for their animals and their land. The USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service is there to help. Find out how you can work with NRCS to develop a conservation plan for your operation. Find possible funding resources for implementing conservation practices, or get free expert advice on ways to improve your farm or ranch. Visit the website nrcs.usda.gov today.
The idea of crossbreeding dairy cows to beef sires has become a growing practice on dairies all across the United States. Russell Nemitz has a look at this trend and how it's a win-win for both the beef and dairy industries.
There are roughly 10 million head of dairy cows in the United States, and although dairy cull cows are a very important part of the overall beef supply, the dairy bull calves that are fed out for beef get a lower return per head compared to beef breeds.
Dairy calves have a long history of being deducted, selling at a discount, even after they've been on feed, even when quality grades are good. And it's just the sheer fact that they have lower red meat yield. They have less cutability.
At the 2022 Cattlemen's College, Jerry Wolf of Wolf Cattle presented on the topic of crossing dairy cows with beef sires. He says one goal of a beef on dairy cross breeding program is to add muscle to a dairy calf.
You think of the genetics in them cattle, they're bred to milk, they're not bred to produce beef. So when you can cross them with the right beef bull, you put more muscle on that carcass, you just enhance red meat yield, you have more pounds of carcass to sell. It's always been this way. Red meat is the most efficient to produce, so they then convert feed to carcass gain better, and it's a win-win. Once it got started, it's kind of been a no-brainer to adapt to, and what it took was the technology or the advent of sex semen. So a dairy heifer calf has always had a lot more value than a dairy bull calf because it goes back into the dairy herd as a replacement. So once that dairyman had the ability to make his only use sexed heifer semen, it then freed up half or more of his herd to use beef bulls on to make a more ideal beef calf.
Now, Wolf Cattle is taking part in this trend. Their breeding to feeding system uses their limousine genetics to provide a high-quality beef sire that's made with the dairy cow in mind. The goal is to produce a dairy calf cross that is of higher quality and that better fits the needs of the beef industry.
This started gaining traction 8-10 years ago. There was a lot of thought that as long as I used beef semen or beef genetics that it would do the job. And we found out, so I think as you will talk to packers, which is our customers that buys the fed cattle, they're not all created equal. And what they were starting to really be challenged with was a wide variation in the cattle types of the different beef on dairy crosses. So they would say it more than anybody that they really want these beef on dairy cross cattle coming out of systems that have some methodology behind them, starting with the right genetics and good management all through the production chain.
Beef and dairy producers are still learning about the options available with this production practice. But Jerry Wolf says he hopes the beef on dairy cross will add value throughout the entire production chain.
We're just making a better quality calf, so we don't have to deal with that population of dairy calves that I think in the past was a bit of a drag on the beef industry, and now they can blend in and fit better.
I'm Russell Nimitz for NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen.
Now, if you were unable to attend Cattlemen's College in Houston, you can still watch these informative sessions. All the presentations were recorded and they'll be available for viewing online. Just visit ncba.org and click on the Producers tab to view this valuable content. The Environmental Stewardship Award Program recognizes the nation's best cattle and livestock operations for their outstanding stewardship practices and conservation achievements. The desire to leave the land better than they found it is a common trait among cattle producers, and you can certainly see that in action with these ESAP winners. Let's head to Texas for a look at the winning operation in Region 4.
Being a good steward of the land that God has given us, it's something that we are obligated to do. It's something we enjoy doing, and you can't ask for a better life than that. My name is Carl Slinky. My grandfather started this particular part of the ranch in 1902.
My husband Carl is 89 and I'm 88. We've been married for 69 years. We have loved being on the ranch and we've been here about 40 years.
We've had programs that improved the ranch, made it more sustainable, and now we have a family living on it, Carson and Bonnie Womack, that we feel can take it over and will take it over.
They own the land and we own the cattle and run them on their land, and it works out great for everybody.
Carson and Bonnie are a blessing to us. They are energetic, they're young, they take care of things. They are always kind of a step ahead of us in getting things done that we know might need to be done.
There's not many places we could show up and walk into something that's been this well taken care of. We're just trying to keep it like they want it.
We felt that the mesquite and juniper were taking up so much moisture that we needed a program to get rid of that.
The brush we burn, we try to burn about 1/6 of the ranch every year.
By controlling the brush, we have more grass and we have more utilization of the water.
Carl and Pat did a great job cleaning out all this country before we got here and grubbing and reseeding and individually plant, treat, and spraying just to try to keep more grass for the cattle. For the future of Dry Creek Ranch, I hope that Bonnie and I can continue the practices Carl and Pat were using before we got here and keep growing lots of grass and try to keep making things better.
Respect for the land, to me, is very important. We have a resource of grass that can only really be used by livestock, so we must take care of that.
Cattle do make a very positive impact on this land. Pat and myself, we've had a tremendous amount of pleasure in getting the ranch to where it is. No doubt in my mind, it is sustainable. You can sustain livestock on this ranch. Although it's small, it'll produce good quality beef, and that's rewarding to me.
When we come back, we'll introduce you to an award-winning operation in Montana that has made stewardship and conservation a top priority. That story when we return. Stay with us.
It is inevitable, like the rising and setting of the sun. Your gravel driveway will need maintenance. Drudgery? Never. Be the right person with the right tools doing the job the right way by watching How to Maintain a Gravel Drive Using a Box Blade with Hydraulic Scarifiers. Brought to you by tipsnotebook.com. When better how-to videos are made, we will make them.
It can be tough to keep up with all the issues that impact the beef cattle business. That's why NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen is dedicated to bringing you valuable news, information, and education. The goal is to give you the knowledge you need to make the best decisions for your operation. So if you're looking for in-depth coverage of the beef industry and the issues that matter to you, don't miss Cattlemen to Cattlemen, debuting every week on RFD TV and on YouTube.
The desire to leave the land better than they found it is a common trait among cattle producers. And you can certainly see that in action with the regional winners of the Environmental Stewardship Award. Let's head to Region 5 for a look at the winning operation from Montana.
If you can do a better job of managing your ranch, that's going to benefit you ecologically, economically, and the whole sustainability picture comes from always trying to do a better job. I'm Chris King. Our ranch is the Josie King & Sons Ranch here outside of Winnett, Montana. This is a family operation. My wife and I and our two kids, our son Jay and daughter Kylie and her husband Mitch, are all on the ranch now. Our ranch encompasses a little over 20,000 acres, and about a third of our grazing land is public land. This prairie country here, it's great grazing land.
I think it's good cattle country. Obviously depends on the year. You know, it looks really green. I mean, it does not look as dry as it is. When you have water, it's great cattle country.
"95% of the ranch is native prairie, so that is our business. That grass is what supports our business. That's the most important component of what we do. So to be sustainable, you have to take care of the land.
So our grazing management plan is, we run on a deferred management plan through 6 pastures. We're able to circle throughout the summer.
With the deferred rotation, the pasture that's grazed first this year will be grazed last next year.
So that pasture will effectively have 18 months of rest.
We use our airplane as a tool here on the ranch.
My dad has a Piper Cub that he uses to fly and check out how the operation is going, check on the cows and the water situation, and it's a very valuable asset to the ranch.
It's actually a fairly inexpensive for us because it's an old plane. It's a 1943 Piper Cub. My dad bought it when I was a kid, and we've been using it ever since. And it's an efficient way to keep tabs on things, and it's a lot of fun.
We love living on the land, and we do our best to make it better for ourselves, for the cattle, for the wildlife, and for future generations.
I really want people to understand that, like, what's good for the cow is what's good for the deer, what's good for the antelope, what's good for the sage grouse, and that we are out to preserve it.
My hope, of course, is that the ranch will continue on in the family, because that's what you're always doing. You're always trying to build for the future. You're always trying to improve what you have so that it is sustainable. We put in a lot of hours here, but we like what we're doing. We like being out here, so it makes it rewarding.
Now, if you'd like to find out more about the Environmental Stewardship Award winners, see photos and videos, or even learn how to nominate someone for the award, visit the website environmentalstewardship.org. Still ahead on Cattlemen to Cattlemen, we'll talk with the new president of the American National Cattlewomen. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
They're here. They're hungry. And they can't be stopped with ivermectin alone. Add Safeguard when you deworm your cattle to take out resistant parasites like brown stomach worm, Couperia, Nematodirus, and others. With 2 dewormers from 2 different classes, you can kill more resistant worms in your cattle, so you don't leave potential on the table. Consult your veterinarian for the diagnosis and treatment of parasitism. Then bite back at safeguardworks.com.
Cattlemen and women are dedicated to managing their land and cattle in a sustainable way. They want to leave a legacy for future generations. For more than 30 years, the Environmental Stewardship Award has worked to honor these caretakers of the land and to share their stories. To find out more and to learn how you can nominate a farm or ranch for the Environmental Stewardship Award, visit the website environmentalstewardship.org. You have an upcoming production sale to advertise? Then contact the Cattlemen to Cattlemen marketing team or your breed association to learn more.
Time now for Weather Watch with meteorologist Matt Makins.
Hope this Weather Watch finds you doing well. Remember, the last update we had here on C2C was just after convention in Houston. We talked about a number of points, but mostly involving La Nina. So in this Weather Watch, let's hit on what La Nina is doing. Has there been any transition, that kind of thing. Then we'll chat about March weather. Looks like it's going to have a very cold start to the month, and then we'll have the spring outlook with very little changes there to what we've chatted about either at the conference or just after, plus on social media and in some of your publications. Let's check out what La Nina is doing. Well, not a whole lot. There have been some fluctuations in the temperatures here in the Pacific Ocean. Nothing notable though. Just some fluctuations of those temperatures. And remember, the colder than average areas, these blue areas, that symbolizes La Nina. And that drives the climate pattern across the entire world, is that pocket of cold ocean water. What we expect to happen as we go throughout the next few months is this area to kind of moderate a bit, calm down if you will, come a little bit more toward average, especially this section here in the central Pacific, as well as right along the coast of South America. We'll see if we can't make a full transition into a neutral phase or even look for signs of El Nino. It's too early to do so just yet, as the ocean is really holding off on its big transition so far. Now, as far as March's weather, it looks like it's going to have a cold start to the month. We saw January with cold temperatures, February by and large with cold temperatures too. The March temperatures, if you go back historically and look at the most similar years to what we have now, those years averaged out so that most of the country was colder than average for March. It looks like this March will have cold areas, especially east of the Rockies, and mostly for the first 2 weeks of March. Then beyond, I'll update you if it changes, but it looks like temperatures to begin to moderate a bit later in March. Now, as far as the precipitation outlook, hit and miss areas along the Rockies, whether it be Wyoming or Colorado, we'll see. As far as California, hit and miss water there, Idaho, Nevada, the same. Around the Corn Belt, at least northern and western sections, hit and miss moisture. You go down to the south and likely drier than average. Now, as far as what we've written so far in some of the newsletters and what we talked about in Houston at the conference, the spring outlook remains the same in terms of precipitation, not favored over the southwest and the west, and temperatures likely this spring stay cooler than average for the northern plains. That's this week's Weather Watch. We'll see you next time.
There were 3 beef industry groups gathered at the 2022 Cattle Industry Convention in Houston: NCBA, the Cattlemen's Beef Board, and the American National Cattlewomen, also known as ANCW. Joining us now is Reba Mazak, a Florida rancher and president of ANCW. Reba, this is a pretty special milestone year for ANCW. Tell us how you plan to celebrate.
Thank you, Kevin. It is a great year for us. We're going to be celebrating 70 years as an organization of American National Cattlewomen. We are so appreciative of the ladies who saw 70 years ago that we needed to join our voice nationally. So we plan on celebrating those ladies in the history and how far American National Cattlewomen have come. We have gone from the ranches on serving our families and continuing to do that to this day, but there are more opportunities for women in ranching now. It's in the business side of it, it's in leadership, and that is where American National Cattlewomen have been very strong in promotion and leadership. So on the serious side, that is my answer. And then we also plan to celebrate with a lot of cake at all of our events.
That's fantastic.
You're more than welcome to join us.
I'd like that. That's outstanding. And you spoke about just the changes over time, but let's talk more specifically about what has the organization evolved to be over 70 years?
Yes. Well, I think that American National Cattlewomen have really taken a very big, strong stance in promotion. We have always been out educating and telling people our story. I think that's the whole purpose that Cattlewomen got involved, was to be able to let people know how wonderful we are at the ranch, the wonderful things that we do, feeding our nation. And so as time has evolved, we've had to step that up. We've had to go onto the digital media to speak to people. We've had to be innovative in our programs that we go into the schools because they're not always open to us anymore. So we have just had to evolve with the time in everything that means, whether that is from the technical side or the business standpoint. We have just had to try and keep up with the times.
You've always done such a good job of promoting beef and educating consumers. Give us some specific examples of some of the programs that ANCW have done in that regard.
Yes. Well, 20 and 30 years ago, we had our National Beef Cook-Off. We had our Beef Ambassador program. And as those programs have gone by the wayside, we have replaced them with a Collegiate Beef Advocacy program, which is a great collegiate program. And we have representatives from all over the United States that are chosen and given a scholarship. And they serve us for a year, speaking on behalf of our industry, getting educated through some of our peers that find interest and find knowledge and value in these young people. So that is our Collegiate Beef Advocacy program. And then we have another wonderful program called WIRED. It stands for Women in Ranching Education Development. It is open to our members as well as non, but it is a hands-on day-and-a-half program of ladies getting in the pens, learning about estate planning, how to order medicine, where to inject things in the right place. I'm a perfect example of what this program does and how good it is. All my life, I've been in the back of the cow pens. I'm the youngest of 4 children, so you get the back job, you get the pusher-upper, you don't get to give injections, you don't get to run the head catch.
Right.
And then I was married and got to the back again, kept pushing things up, and then I lost my husband. And then all of a sudden I became the front person at the chute making the decisions on how things happen. So going through that Wired program really helped me because it gave me a hands-on situation to not only be the person in charge back at my own ranch, but to be able to say with confidence, don't do that. This is where that shot goes, or don't brand them there.
Absolutely.
So it has really, I'm a good candidate for that Wired program and to show what it does. But we fully believe in educating not only the consumer, but the producers as well. The more knowledge we can gain for ourselves and to be able to speak with knowledge and confidence, that it speaks volumes.
Now, as president, your goal is to find ways to get women involved both on and off the ranch. And I'm curious, what are some of your priorities for your coming year as president?
Well, as our age has changed with the way we get our news and the way we can reach people, our digital side of our American National Cattlewomen, public relations and social media has really stepped up our game. We are diligently working to keep up with the young people, to keep up with the demographics that we are being shown of where our testimony is needed and where people aren't familiar with beef. So outside of our digital part and footprint that we're trying to increase with, we're going to continue to have our programs and invite these ladies to be a part of it. One thing that we have going for us as cattle producers is our passion. And we can show that no matter what we're doing, if it's standing in front of a camera like I am today, or speaking to a group of kids, or sitting on an airplane talking to a stewardess. Your passion is where it gets to people where you want them to be. And I feel like we can do that in many ways.
Well, as a guy who has 2 daughters, a wife and a mom who are all vitally integral to our operation, I thank you for all you and all the other ladies do in the beef production industry. And I congratulate you on 70 years of success. Have a great year.
Thank you. We appreciate being here and we're looking forward to this year.
American National Cattlewomen serves as a voice for women who share a passion for the beef community. To find out more information about the group, go to the website ancw.org. Well, that wraps up this edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We'll see you again next week right here on RFD TV.